Welcome, everyone. My name is Christy Oliver, and I am the Professional Development Manager at Davis Publications. I'm also the NAEA Eastern Region Vice President, and I'm very proud to be both things. Our special guest will join us shortly, but first we have a few opening remarks. We acknowledge that every community's strength and existence are built on previous generations' hopes, dreams, and efforts worldwide. In the United States, much of its economic growth was fueled by the unpaid labor and forced servitude of enslaved people. By honoring our elders, past and present, we pay our respects to their contributions. I speak to you tonight from the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts and Wampanoag people, recognizing the legacy of colonization and the harm caused by the forced removal of Indigenous communities from their lands. At NAEA, we honor those who came before us, not as a performative gesture, but as part of our ongoing commitment to learning and growth. We invite you to honor the Indigenous people and tribes that are local to you by visiting native-land.ca. Now I'm pleased to present our series, Open Studio Conversations, Feelings Reboot, utilizing the arts to help our students regulate their emotions. During tonight's sessions, you'll hear from 3 art educators who will share practical insight on how to assist both teachers and learners in regulating emotions in difficult times. Please submit your questions in the chat. Our panelists will address them at the end. Today, we are honored to be joined by Bev Johns, Jenna Lee Hines, and Harley Blau. Bev Johns spent the majority of her career working with students with significant emotional and behavioral challenges within the public schools. She worked with the students who had experienced trauma and some of whom who came to school angry at the world. She also was a professional fellow at the McMurray College, training future educators to work in special education. She trained general education teachers to work with students with special education needs. She is the author or co-author of 28 nonfiction books. She is the president of the Learning Disabilities Association of Illinois. She believes that the arts are a powerful way for students to express their emotions in an appropriate way. The arts are a restorative tool to provide students with an appropriate way to reboot their feelings. Welcome, Bev.
Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, please.
We have Jenna and Harley also. So I'm going to just introduce them real quick. So we have Dr. Jenna Hines has more than 25 years of experience in education, encompassing early childhood through post-secondary levels, with over 20 years dedicated to pre-K-12 contexts. She earned her doctorate in curriculum and instruction with a specialization in special education and currently serves as a clinical assistant professor at the University of Kentucky. Her scholarly work centers on the intersections of stress, test anxiety, and academic performance. She has published and presented research in these areas and developed the Stress Performance Evaluation Method, a framework designed to identify optimal learning environments that support student success. In addition, she is advancing an innovative tool that utilizes physiological responses to streamline the identification of effective interventions for reducing stress and enhancing learning outcomes. Dr. Hines is also a certified mindfulness practitioner and integrates evidence-based mindfulness strategies into her teaching and research. She is the author of 5 children's books that promote social emotional learning and continues to bridge scholarship, practice, and innovation to support diverse learners. Welcome, Jenna. And next we have Dr. Harley Blau, who brings a wealth of firsthand knowledge on supporting grieving students as well as addressing the benefits of social and emotional learning through the arts. She has experience in teaching students compassion and mindfulness. The work that she has done in teaching students how to cope with their grief is cutting edge and can serve as a model for many teachers. She will be talking about how she meets the needs of her students to deal with their loss and their anger. Harley has created an evidence-based narrative on how social emotional learning should be embedded in the arts. Harley will provide a whole array of SEL activities for the classroom. Harley is a national certified school psychologist, holds a doctorate degree in educational leadership. During her time serving students at the Mississippi School of the Arts, she created an arts-focused grief retreat for teens. She has organized student support groups for cultivating self-compassion and mindfulness through the arts. Her focus is as a practitioner. She is currently focusing energy on her nonprofit organization that supports grieving children through the arts, Anchored Christian Grief Camp. Welcome, Harley. Please join me in welcoming these amazing panelists who will lead the conversation for the rest of the evening. And I'm happy to turn it over to Bev.
Maybe you have had one of those days where you need a reboot of your feelings. As we live in these times of high stress, we witness violence and we are faced with unpredictability. Both adults and our students are faced with difficulty keeping their regulations in check. Our students struggle with emotional regulation. We all do. How can they control their emotions? How can they prevent their anger from consuming them? And how can they keep their aggression in check? So tonight we're going to feature Harley and Jenna, who are two experts who are bringing to you a wealth of information about emotional regulation. Our panel members will discuss the many strategies that can help educators work effectively with their students to reboot their feelings into positive channels. The panel members will share a wealth of practical ideas so you can take back and use tomorrow and next week and for months to come. So we are delighted to have Dr. Jenna Hines and Dr. Harley Blau. And You've met Harley, but I want to ask her to give you some more information about what she is doing, because just to share a story, I first learned about her grief retreat, and I thought it made so much sense. So, Harley, thank you for being here tonight. And will you tell us more about the exciting work that you're doing?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed working with you and researching with you as well. I created a grief camp, and this is where we incorporate the arts into a healing process, focusing on the creative process, so that students can use this creative process to express without words and to say as much or as little as they want to the arts can create a beautiful, safe space where healing happens. And art is the conversation, art is the place healing happens. So,
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Hines is with us. She has actually some very exciting news that just happened yesterday, and she brings a wealth of information to this topic. So, Jenna Lee, you want to tell us about yourself?
Oh, Jenna, it looks like you need to unmute and start over.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. I am delighted to be here this evening, and thank you for the warm welcome, everyone. This evening, I am going to be able to share with all of you some of the research-based interventions that not only I have studied, but other researchers have studied to help really reduce the stress and to bring a more mindful environment. And you will share, if someone can progress to the next slide. The importance of this is, how did I get involved in this? This was me as a child. This was me always confused when it came to a test because I drew a blank, had sweaty palms, upset stomach, and I did not know what was going on. So this really pushed me to study stress responses and what was going on, not realizing that it was all based on my DNA. So, how I was responding was based on how I respond to the stress. So, what does this lead to? This leads to sharing these interventions based on individual needs, and that not one child fits all boxes. So, we need to make sure that we are really paying attention to how students are responding, bring a more mindful connection when it comes to school and to the arts. And a calm mind is actually a mind that helps to become more creative. Thank you. And leading into this, how stress impacts our well-being. So understanding the connection between the mind and the body and actually how it regulates the human functions is an essential piece. And this awareness that you're learning tonight not only supports our students' well-being, but it also supports the teacher's well-being. And it's important to also take care of ourselves and not just take care of our students. When we are in our best mind and our best shape, we really can provide a better education for our students. Next slide.
So now we're going to get into specific strategies that all of you can use. And as Jenna talked, it's also important that we learn to control our own emotions because we are role models for our children. And if we're calm, we're creating an environment that is conducive for our children to become calm. So let's talk about some strategies to do this. So, what strategies actually help students regulate their emotions through art? The beauty of the arts is we have so many wonderful opportunities that are non threatening for our students. So, Dr. Hines, would you like to talk about some strategies that you recommend?
Thank you, Bev. The very first strategy I want to introduce is what can you do at the start of the class? First and foremost, providing an environment that's safe and that the students feel comfortable in is essential. But when you begin each class with a positive comment, positive remark, and have everyone just start by being present and aware. So mindfulness is being in the present moment, eliminating the distractions around, not just you as the instructor, but the students. So once these distractions are eliminated and you become present in the moment, there's where the creativity comes in. And this helps with anxiety and stress. Because what is anxiety? It's fear of the future. Stress is that as well. De- Depression and all that is fear of worrying about things that have happened in the past. So when you start bringing the present into your classroom, it can help eliminate some of the anxiety that these students have going on. So what can you start doing? You can start offering short breathing exercises before you start an assignment. Have you ever heard of box breathing? You can start by helping the students start breathing in once, holding it in, and then breathing out. And then you can go to 2 counts in, hold, and 2 counts out. You can repeat this for up to 5 minutes. After you do this for so many days in a row, it's going to actually reprogram the student's mind because it's the HPA axis, and then it will help them become even more present, and it's going to help them with their future. It's important to encourage students to focus on how they feel while they're creating, rather than striving for perfection, such as the process of like painting, drawing, or sculpting activates the parasympathetic nervous system and it lowers cortisol levels. This allows for emotions to be safely released and processed. And like I shared at the beginning, a calm mind is a creative mind. A creative mind brings success.
So very true. Okay, Dr. Blau,
Yes,
you share your strategies with us.
sure. So art innately teaches that emotional awareness, which is absolutely necessary for emotional regulation, which is what the students need to be successful in and outside of the classroom. And emotional awareness is not, it really does need to be taught. It can be very difficult for some children, many children, to know what they're feeling and why. And so that's your first step, and that's innately embedded just in art. And art also gives you that opportunity to become aware of what you're feeling and then your space to explore it through the creative process, that safe space. And so here are just four ways, ideas of what you could do maybe in an individual or group. So for watercolor breath, I like this one if you are hoping to bring to mind the mind and body connection. If you say, here's a palette of colors, pick how you're feeling right now. And when you breathe in, draw how your breath feels. And then that space between that inhale and exhale, just pause and then breathe out. And sometimes you'll see it's really, really staggered and there's lots of anxiety. And sometimes it's really whimsical and loopy. And sometimes they have to change the colors a lot. But it's becoming aware of how am I breathing and how am I feeling? And so that's the watercolor breath. And the clay rock is helping to ground you because before you can regulate your emotions, you can't be disassociated or you've got to be grounded. So I love to use foam clay. It's fun. And you fit it into your own hand, which is fun, and you can write all over it. You can write your worries, and then you can paint all over your worries. You can paint coping skills, strengths that you have on it, and you can hold it in your hand and press into it whenever you feel your emotion. You can do so many things with tactile clay. Um, and this can be done in the beginning of the year and just a reminder throughout the class, the throughout the academic year of, hey, those clay rocks, this is a good time to take them out, or um, the ugly art, if you notice a group or a student who's really dealing with perfectionism, maybe some OCD, and it's leading to severe anxiety, um, ask them to make some ugly art. It's hard for me. You could do it tons of different ways, and maybe you've already done this, but you can give them lots of different materials and say, just make something ugly and breathe through it. It's okay. How do you feel making it not what the after product, as Dr. Hines was talking about? Or use your non-dominant hand and let's just draw, okay? And it's okay. You are not what you make, right? You are not you. So working through the process and not the product. And that's a beautiful way to try to regulate emotions through that process of making the ugly art. And the last one I just wanted to touch base on is the mask. And you can do this so many ways, but you could take a piece of paper and one can be the inside and one can be the outside. And the inside, you say, okay, now draw, represent anything, how you see yourself, who you are, who you really are. If you like it or don't like it, just who you are. And then on this outside, just represent what you show the world, how you want the world to see you. Okay. And then how are they different? And so the difference between these two can create so much anxiety and mood dysregulation. And so working through why are they different? This person on the inside, they're lovable, right? They're precious, they're valued. Um, and so there's art is inherently healing and inherently, I'm talking too much and I'm talking too long, but those are just four ways that you can use art to help students regulate their emotions. Next slide.
So now is our next question. And thank you both, Harley and Jenna, for those great ideas, things that certainly all of us can utilize. How can we help our students who experience anxiety or grief? Jenna, you want to start with that one?
Sure, thank you. As our research shows, stress and healing is not a one size fits all. So, like I shared, it's important that we go child by child case in the situation. So, what works for one may not work for another. So I shared with you about mindful breathing. Other interventions that may work is aromatherapy. So, some aromatherapy, such as adaptive or rosemary, are two oils that have shown in my research that reduce test anxiety and stress and actually improved our students' academic performance. Other things that you can try is journaling. And another one is called tapping, or also known as emotional freedom techniques. With tapping, you are going to be tapping the meridian points, starting with the head, the above the eyebrows to the side of the eye, under the eye, and above the mouth, below the nose, to the chin, to the chest, under the arm, and then you finish at the top. Please look into that and how you can incorporate this exercise more into your students' work. This is one that takes practice to do, but that overall reprograms that subconscious mind to have a calming environment. What I highly encourage is explore multiple strategies. As I shared for already, this may or may not work for your student. So in that case, you would find something else that may work for them. This is important in order to find what fits each child's unique needs.
Okay, Dr. Blau. And before Dr. Blau starts, I think Jenna hit on a very important point, which is the importance of individualization. What I see sometimes happen is that educators think that if children are bothered, they can write about it. But writing is not going to be successful if the child has a written expression problem. So then you have to look for something else. So all along the way, we've got to know the specific individual needs of children. So thank you for talking about that. Dr. Blau?
Grief work is my life passion. I could talk to y'all about it for years, but just a little bit is I do grief groups and grief retreats, 1-day retreats, and grief camps that are several nights. And we do mural work, which would be the collaborative. So if you see right here, the mural pictured, all of the colors are handprints, okay? And so that we threw paint on there, which was fun, and we talked about anger and how it's okay to feel angry, and handprints and how people leave marks on our lives, right? Whether we really want them to or not, how they come in and out of our lives. And you see there's one butterfly, but there's also two butterflies. So we talked about the interdependency of grief. And so there's uniqueness in grief. Every person's grief journey is different, but it is a universal journey. So we can find hope in our grief community. But no one can ever tell you how to grieve or what you should be doing. And we talk a lot about the Griever's Bill of Rights. And we release butterflies at every retreat. I've had a lot of retreats, probably more than 10 for sure. And we always release live butterflies. And we talk about the little caterpillar not knowing he's going to be a cocoon, and then his whole life changing. He has to work through it, and his life becomes a butterfly, and he doesn't know that's beautiful, right? He just wanted to be a caterpillar. And even though it's entirely different and entirely not what he wanted, he can still have a beautiful life. He can still learn how to fly. So it's talking about reinvesting into your new life. And so using art to explore the pain and the anger and the resentment and the doubt and the happiness and the joy of life as you knew it being shattered, and trying to figure out what life is now. And we talk a lot about how grief is so much more than death. at my grief retreats, some are only for like parental death, but many of them are for divorce, parental incarceration, or parental separation, or there's so many kids out there that are grieving. Grieving is a part of life. And so art can feel like a big hug. And so that is just a little bit about my grief camps. And we do wood burning and the murals and watercolor. We do a lot of clay work. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. The grief retreat, I think, has so much potential. So I really applaud Dr. Blau for doing that. And I encourage, any of you who could at least create some time for working together with children who are experiencing grief. So it's a beautiful practice. Thank you. So now, how have students' needs changed? And at the same time, how can restorative practices help as we've seen the needs of children change? Uh, Jenna, you want to start with that one?
Absolutely. Thank you, Bev. So what I have to say is I call it before COVID, after COVID, and the needs. And I want to share, I've done over 50 discovery calls. And as I was introduced, I'm working on a big project. It's an AI version to help measure the physiological response of how individuals are responding during each intervention, which would give an immediate if it's a green light that intervention is working based on the student's physiological response. Physiological response meaning their heart rate and blood pressure. So with these customer discovery calls, what I found is a lot of needs have changed after COVID. Before COVID, not many individuals would look at mental health as more visible. And now more individuals are speaking about it, and not just women, which was before COVID. More women would come and say, yes, I'm anxious, I've been depressed. But after COVID, even the men are coming forward and being more visible. And mental health awareness is essential more now than ever. This is a growing awareness, has brought even a bigger attention to why my research is so essential in this world today. Next slide. All right. So with all these changes, this is where it's essential for us to integrate a lot of these restorative practices that you're hearing about this evening. This can help students recognize them as individuals and that they're unique, and being unique is wonderful. It emphasizes that effective stress reduction is not just one size, that each student requires personalized interventions that support their well-being. That is the unique thing about the stress performance application that's coming out, because it will provide that personalized intervention to help teachers, students, and even parents recognize what exactly is working for their child and what is not. Next slide.
Dr. Blau, talk about the changing needs that you see.
Yes, I see social media being such a influence in the children's lives. I see that they don't get a break from that social comparison that all day long. Unfortunately, I do think comparison is the thief of joy, and they are looking around comparing themselves, and then they get on their phone at night and at home, and then they're comparing themselves. And I think it's leading to a lot greater feelings of isolation, even though they feel that the social media is helping them be more connected. It's actually increasing their feelings of isolation, which is um, decreasing their ability to regulate their emotions. Um, And with greater use of their phones and the virtual world and social media and all that comes with it, you are negatively impacting sleep, and you're leading to sleep deprivation, and you need sleep to regulate your emotions. Uh, so there's just a nonstop feeling of do more and be better. And why aren't you more like her? And wait, you didn't get invited to that? Or wait, she's with her? And I don't think that's always been the case. I think there was a time when children went home from school and they were just at home, and there's no break now. And I think cyberbullying is real, and I think it's pervasive. I think kids are mean. Um, and I just think we're dealing with so much more now. I think that kids deal with school, and then I think that we deal with virtual cyber world now. And I think I certainly don't understand the depth of it. Um, and I think our student schedules are overpacked. I was a school psychologist at a residential high school for gifted students. It was awesome. The Mississippi School of the Arts, incredible students, but always trying to get the best and the better and the most, right? You have to have the next ACT score, the next greatest portfolio. Right now, homework. And so, in order to have good emotional regulation, you have to focus on emotional well being and you have to have time to rest. And so, I see a lot now in our public school systems, and kids are stretched thin. And so, I think the homework and the extracurricular and the time management and the pressures and the social media. I think all of those together and COVID, post COVID, have created greater challenges for children to learn skills for emotional regulation.
Okay. Next slide. Oh, and our last question, uh, because we all want to have hope and we all want our children to have hope. So, Jenna, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is the awareness that we're able to share nowadays, the awareness that mental health is okay to talk about, the awareness that how stress impacts a person's life is coming more to light. It is okay to have these emotions and it's okay to talk about them. And being and offering different interventions is so important. We need, as I was growing up, I had to be in the box. If I want to do a math problem here, if I did not follow that math problem to the T, I got it wrong. But being aware that creativity, even in the math classroom, bringing the arts, being creative, having them think outside the box and watch the light bulbs come on when this happens. It brings so much joy when my students see it when they go out into the classroom. So let's start bringing the creativity back in. Let's start bringing individuality back in. Let's allow the students to discover in a mindful way. Let's be present. Teachers, turn your phones upside down. Have your students remove all electronics from your desk. Get the markers out and the crayons and the papers. Like, let's talk about fractions. Scary topic, and it is scary topic for a lot of elementary practicum students. But you know what? When they learn that mistakes are okay, but let's develop the skills about fractions using creativity and watch how the students blossom. It's the interdiscipline of art, reading, math together that make the person whole. And knowing the physiological response and the psychology of how stress impacts each individual person will help you as an educator. Here's classroom management. It will help you bring in and not have to worry about that. In the 20 years of me teaching K through 12, there's only 5 times I send a student to the office. Because in my room, you all are going to laugh when I say this. I literally had a trash can outside my room. They weren't allowed to talk negative about themselves. When we bring negativity into our classrooms, it continues to bring the negative vibe. We're all energy. So they literally would get up and they would have to throw their negative comments outside the room. And they all would laugh at the beginning, but they knew I was serious because this impacted, and I'm going to tell you what it impacted here in a moment. This impacted how our room was very mindful. They knew positively only. We had affirmations we used daily. But at the end of the day, even though they were students with learning disabilities, their test scores were approaching average, y'all. Like that impact of just eliminating the negativity and bringing the spirits to life was so amazing. And it wasn't just the joy it brought to me, but the safe space that I brought for the students. They owned that room. I didn't develop the art in that room. They developed the art in the room. They developed the expectations in that room. We used Class Dojo, and you know what? They were middle schoolers for some of my years, and they loved it. They developed the positive and the negatives of it. When you bring the whole child into your room, you're going to watch them blossom and watch you change just one student at a time. That one student at a time becomes multiple students if you think about it. Those 10 students that you may have in front of you, that's going to impact them and their future. Just everything multiplies. So your impact in education is so essential in today's world. Be that mindful teacher that really makes an impact for a child. But also, when you start feeling that stress that comes, or you start feeling an emotion that comes up, stop and pause. Turn yourself around and breathe. When you stop for a moment, you're not giving a quick reaction, you're giving a mindful response because you've already slowed down your response time with that. Next slide.
Wow.
Art is very hopeful to me. Working with students brings me great hope because of the resilience that I see in them and the creativity that's always astonishing. I love to create with children. Arts can be incorporated and like Dr. Hines said, the interdisciplinary importance of that. And I think art can happen anywhere. And I know that you don't have to have professional training to create, and definitely not to use the creative process to heal. And so love when I was in the educational setting, I loved empowering the core curriculum teachers to use art here and there to build those emotional regulation skills that absolutely impacted their academic success and just created a better community and connection and relationships and empathy and just all of the things that are really much more important, I think, than standardized testing. But and art can be incorporated in 1 million different ways. It's just if we can have enough energy and time and resources and supportive administration, if we can have all of those things, then schools can make it happen. So That's what gives me hope, is that it is truly very, very possible for students to acquire emotional regulation through the arts.
Thank you. Thank you. I think beautifully said by both of you. And it's so important about how each of us can make this happen one step at a time. Tonight, you have heard some wonderful, wonderful ideas from Dr. Blau and Dr. Hines. They're on this webinar because they are two of the authors who are in our latest book, Restorative Practices in Education Through Art, that I had the privilege of working together with Lisa Kay, Donna Lynn Heisey, um, and Davis Publications to make this dream a reality, because the entire book is filled with a collection of multiple strategies from experts like Dr. Blau and Dr. Hines, who are actually doing it. And so, as you read the book, you will see all kinds of practical arts based examples and strategies that provide a greater understanding for all of us. Included in the book are dance ideas, puppet ideas, mind body practices, ways to build resilience. We talk about, one of our authors talks about the importance of murals, another one talks about puppets, another one talks about dance. It's filled with healing practices for individuals, groups, and communities. And we are very, very grateful to Davis for giving us the opportunity to have this book to share all of these ideas. So we hope all of you will enjoy it as much as we have. And we also hope that all of you have gotten some wonderful ideas. And Jenna's going to talk about a recent book award that she received.
Thank you, Bev. This week, I just got recognized for Alice Way as an award winner for my book, Just Breathe. And this is the fifth book that I released. And these characters that you see here are from my followers, and they actually got illustrated in here. And there's a really unique piece where the interdisciplines come in this book at the end, and actually these characters share their story in there as well. But Just Breathe is a book that parents can practice breathing with their children. So it has each of these characters going through an emotion, whether if it's them being angry, them being sad, or them being anxious, or even test anxiety. And the characters actually talk about the mindful breathing in here and how that emotions are okay to have. But how can we regulate them to become more centered again? So, not only is this helping young learners, but also the parents as well, because they're learning as they are reading this to their children. Next slide.
Thank you. Okay, and it's now time for questions.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentations. We will now ask some questions that the attendees have submitted in the chat. The first question is from Stephanie, and she says, I'm working with doctors who prescribe virtual art programs for patients who have mental health issues, social isolation, and more, looking for insight on how to best support these participants. What are some insights you suggest for best supporting such participants?
And they're working with doctors.
With doctors who prescribe virtual art programs for patients with mental health issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I have become very interested in a practice known as narrative medicine. And narrative medicine is now incorporating stories of individuals and the arts into management of either physical illness or mental illness. It's a program that was started at Advocate Health, and they have a conference, but it's all about learning about the individual person and what the individual person needs, and giving that person a chance to tell their story and to express themselves through the arts. So Harley or Jenna, other comments?
Okay, we can move to the next question is from Brooke. Can Dr. Hines talk more about how aromatherapy can be used in the classroom?
Yes, I can. So the most recent publication that is coming out has to do with adaptive oil and rosemary oil. So, what you can do is first get permission from the parents. That's the key with that. And then what we do is we actually apply the aromatherapy on the individual. So they would put it on their wrist, put it on their collarbone, and then they would breathe in and out. So it was first known that 15 minutes ahead of time before taking a test or say a presentation, it's important to do it then. But most recently, and we are collaborating with doTERRA, so I'm going to doTERRA mentioned that 5 minutes before is a good enough time to do that. So our current study right now that we are doing using aromatherapy is adaptive again, but this time we're using the blend thinker to see if there was a differences in improvement of reducing the stress and anxiety and increasing test scores in math.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is from Melody. How do you recommend starting regulating experiences in mainstream classrooms where dysregulation is consistent and varied? Techniques that they won't scoff at starting.
If I can chime in here, one of the things that I have used in training general ed teachers is to when the teacher gets the pulse for we're getting a little uptight here, let's have a mindful moment. Might be a minute, might be 2 minutes, where they all stand up and stretch, or they all take out their sketchbook and draw, or they all do a series of breathing exercises. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it really does have a calming effect on students, regardless of the age. But building in those mindful moments, because our children in classrooms are on what I call cognitive overload, and they're overwhelmed by everything hitting them, and sometimes we are as well. So say time for a mindful moment, and you can even build choice in, or maybe listen to a piece of music, whatever, but building in those moments throughout the school day, where they're not losing a lot of academic time, but it's very important to kind of regain control, and get the students calmed. Jen
And
or Harley, comments?
I'm going to actually piggyback what you said. When it comes to the sooner you can start the mindful moments, the sooner you see it's getting escalated, the better because they're not, and I'm going to use the word physiological response, meaning their cortisol levels, heart rate, and blood pressures are starting to increase. So the more you see and recognize this and start the intervention right away, it will be so helpful. And I want to share one other thing with that. So another thing that you can look at when it comes to testing situations, when you hear, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to relate to this, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. That's where stop, eliminate that negative talk, and Here's what else changes the focus. Get them to smile, get them to shift quickly. So when you shift that mindset, it's going to shift how they're going to respond to you. So even when I'm teaching my math practicum class and students start saying certain things, I literally get them to smile or to laugh. And when they do that, they automatically notice that I just shifted the class structure right away. And then you can bring in the mindful breathing.
I was gonna just share empathy and compassion with you because that just sounds like a very difficult situation. And what I've found is that the relationship built with the students is just the intervention, the number one intervention that when I work with the students from the that think my art ideas are kind of silly or immature, they will look at me kind of like, and then they'll do it with me and they'll actually kind of smile. And they're doing that because they trust me as the adult that's doing that activity with them and they're still able to get something out of it. Without that relationship with them, they would roll their eyes and I don't know what kind of behavior. So the only reason I'm getting them to do any kind of creative process is because of the relationship with me.
Good point.
Yes. All right. Jennifer asks, Dr. Hines was sharing about a program that recognizes personalized interventions that worked for an individual. She would like to know if there's a publication on this, or can you tell us a little bit about what program it is?
Thank you. I think they're referring to the stress performance application that's in phase 1 of development. So phase 1 will be done in December is the goal, and then we're going to be piloting that in January, while phase 2, which is the AI face recognition, will be starting that development. So it is not in publication. It is an innovation that's in the process.
Great. Thank you. From Rachel, do you have a favorite lesson that helps teach mindfulness?
Who'd like to talk about that?
Dr. Hines, do you have a mindfulness? Um, I always enjoy talking through visual imagery with students and the grounding techniques like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We always talk through different kind of breathing, but definitely like the progressive muscle relaxation, along with the meditative affirmations that are individual to what the person needs.
Dr. Bell, that's exactly what I do as well. So the mindful breathing techniques, you can start with the box breathing, um, the nature walk. So even taking your class out in nature and just being mindful of just looking at a tree and looking at the uniqueness of that tree. So you're actually resetting, and even though you took them on a quick walk, you actually bring them back into a more mindful space. There's mindful meditations that you can do as well, and the grounding. So those are all mindful activities that would be helpful.
And thank you for mentioning nature walking. So important. Actually, Attitude, which is a publication for individuals with ADHD, did a survey about how adults what is the most effective way they calm themselves down when they are upset about something. And it was nature walking. And so, anytime that we can build in nature walking, I believe it is very important. I have a friend who has Alzheimer's. And I will tell you that the other day I was with her and I observed she was very uptight. She went out, she took herself outside. You could just see her calming herself as she looked at the flowers, as she looked at the trees, as she looked at the pond. And pretty soon she was calm and she came in. And there are so many things that you can do with nature walking. Find everything that you see that's yellow. Find everything you see that is blue. What are the items that make you happy? So draw a picture of what we saw when we walked. Just multiple things that you can do centered around nature walking.
Fantastic. We have so many great questions and so little time to address everything. Thank you, Bev, Jenna, and Harley, for taking the time to share your expertise with us. We appreciate your presence and look forward to future opportunities to connect and collaborate. We will end the evening with some upcoming opportunities and exciting events. Let's see. If you enjoyed this Open Studio conversation, we hope you can join us for upcoming Open Studio conversations. We have Artist Connections with Kavya Ravi on Thursday, November 20th. This event is open to students, which is super exciting. We have an Open Studio conversation on the NAEA Convention 101 on Thursday, January 22nd. NAEA also offers additional monthly online professional learning, offering professional development credit and certificates of participation. This is a $588 value that is free for NAEA members. Our upcoming webinars include Designing with Intention, Building Engaging Art Courses in Your School's Learning Management System on November 5th, Unlocking Inquiry, Scavenger Hunts and Museum Connections in AP Art History on December 3rd. If you're not already an NAEA member, we hope you can join us. NAEA is your connection to the global visual arts education community. As a member, some benefits include access to the online professional learning studio, NAEA News and Art Education Journal, leadership opportunities, writing opportunities, and recognition through the national and regional awards, and so, so much more. As an NAEA member, you can also sponsor a National Art Honor Society or National Junior Art Honor Society chapter for your middle or high school students. Students have access to special scholarships, awards, juried exhibitions, and even more. Visit the link via the QR code or on the NAEA website for more information. And finally, we highly encourage you to register now for the NAEA 2026 National Convention taking place in Chicago, Illinois from March 5 to 7, 2026. Thank you so, so much for spending time with us this evening. We want to remind everyone that content from this Open Studio, including a recording, will be available in the Professional Learning Studio at learning.arteducators.org. Thank you again for joining us today for this Open Studio conversation. We hope that you have a wonderful evening. Good night.